Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Dimitri Johnson, and you're listening to MMALatestNews.com.
It's time to roll, baby.
This is Knows MMA.
Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest fight of the year is upon us, and I cannot help but just smile at the thought of it. Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal at Madison Square Garden in New York City. It truly doesn't get any larger than that. And the fact that the two individuals, such as Diaz and Masvidal, are the headliners of this major event is truly a beautiful thing. I think it feels so good because both of these guys are so deserving of this moment. It's a fight that none of us knew we wanted until the call-out by Diaz on that fateful evening at UFC 241. My initial thoughts when the call-out happened was thinking that both of these guys are OGs in the game, and I'd really hate for one of them to have to cancel out the other. But after sitting on the idea of it for an evening, I quickly came to realize that this is the fight to make. And not only did they make it, they created a one-time only title just for this contest. Normally, I would absolutely hate the idea of entering another belt into the picture, especially one that's essentially fake. At a time where interim titles are more prevalent than ever, the introduction of another belt is not something that would be enticing to me as a fan. But the BMF title is the exception. It's wild because the creation of the BMF title went from being a silly joke to the focal point of the biggest event of the year. And as I said, normally I would absolutely hate this sort of thing, but this belt being created is perfectly acceptable based solely on who these guys are. I'm perfectly willing to put the hierarchy of contenders and champions aside for one night to enjoy a fight between two guys who've earned this unparalleled level of respect. Two seasoned veterans who are famous for their skill, aggression, and tenacity. Not the type for that disingenuous trash talk to draw attention to themselves for promotional purposes. Fighters with phony personas need not apply. This title is reserved for two of the most naturally polarizing figures in the game. As someone who's been following this sport for a long time, it's a feel-good story to see guys like Diaz and Masvidal in this position. It's something that absolutely nobody would have predicted a few years ago, and it all happened so fast. Sure, they were always well-respected names in this sport. I remember the days when Masvidal was a really highly touted talent in Strikeforce, and that was right around the same time that Nate was in the thick of being in his brother's shadow. And now here they are, set to perform on the biggest stage and under the brightest lights possible. The highest profile event of the year by a landslide, and Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal are the faces of it. As for how this thing goes down, beats the hell out of me. I think there's any number of ways it can play out. Diaz's pitter-patter style of throwing punches and scoring cumulative damage is a great quality, and people often confuse this style with not having power, but Diaz has power. He just concerns himself with being more accurate and landing as much as humanly possible. Masvidal is incredibly tough, very dangerous, and every bit as experienced as Diaz. His striking style differs from Diaz in a couple of ways. Masvidal is very technical and likes to throw his punches straight down the center line and with speed, while Diaz throws his punches almost in a slower but well-timed, loopy fashion. The angles that the strikes come from are pretty wide, and that bodes well for a striker like Masvidal, who throws his punches straight down the pipe. As far as the ground goes, advantage Diaz. Not to disrespect Masvidal's grappling, he's proven to be competent, but Diaz is considered to be one of the best jiu-jitsu talents in the game. He just essentially never uses it based on the principle of not avoiding a fistfight. It's that sort of thing that endears him to the fans so much. But he did seem willing to use it in the fight versus Pettis, and if the opportunity presents itself in the fight against Masvidal, I could definitely see Diaz taking it there and going for the kill. But for me, it's not even about who wins the BMF title. It's more about the fact that it's happening, and something that would otherwise be unacceptable is perfectly acceptable just because of the fact that both of these individuals are so deserving of this. It's good to know that whoever wins this thing is likely going to move into another stratosphere of fame, and it won't be through the means of talking trash or weird out-of-the-cage social media antics. It'll be through being, first of all, elite-level mixed martial artists at the top of the heap, coupled with them being true to themselves and the fan base. May the baddest motherfucker win.